Welcome back here to the Mountain Morning Show. You know, something a lot of people are talking about right now is goal setting. With the new year, everyone has their new goals that they have set in front of them, but the hardest part is maintaining and achieving those goals. Well, lucky for you, we have a great friend of the station here, Bill Humbert, recruiter guy and author of this great book, Employee 5.0, Secrets of a Successful Job Search in the New World Order. It is Mr. Bill Humbert. How are you doing today, Bill?
Diego, I'm well, thank you. Yourself?
Doing fantastic. How is your New Year's going?
It's going great. Happy New Year's to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. And as I was saying, something I know everyone speaks about with the new year is obviously setting new goals for themselves with the new year.
Right. Well, they say, well, you know, let's set a resolution.
Yeah.
Resolutions get forgotten. But if you make it a goal and you make it measurable, now you've got something to work towards.
That's fantastic, and I think you put that perfectly. I think with resolutions, it can be kind of sometimes far-reaching, a little bit overreaching sometimes, a little too ambitious. So it's important with goals. The difference between a goal and maybe a resolution, I guess as you could say, is a goal is specific. There's specific things that you're trying to achieve in a specific set of time, correct?
Right. It's I use the word SCAMPS.
Yes.
So the first S stands for specific, as you said, and then strategy.
Okay.
What's the strategy to get there?
Okay.
The C stands for it's got to be challenging, because our brain gets excited when things are challenging.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's got to be attainable.
Attainable.
Because our brains also know when it's something is so challenging, there's no way you make it.
Absolutely.
And so it goes, I'm not going to work towards that. There's no way you're going to make it. It's got to be measurable, because that's the piece that's magic, because you know where you stand every day, every week.
And I think the great thing about the measurable piece, as you said, is you know where you stand every day, every week, but I also think it provides some motivation for you as well. Every time you get one of those mini goals checked off as you're working your way to the big goal, I think it kind of just shows and reinforces to yourself, like, look, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm on the right path, continue these habits, I guess you could say.
Right, and then it's got to be public.
Yeah.
So I tell people, just make it public among the people who support you.
Yeah.
The ones who don't support you are going to say, you can't do that, and they'll discourage you.
Absolutely.
So just make it public among the people who support you, and they'll kind of give you extra incentive, because, so Diego, how's that
going? Yeah. Next time you go to Grandma's house, you're going to be like, I have to finish this before I go.
Exactly. And then it has to have a specific end date. Okay. And the two S's, I think, are the bungee cord.
I see.
To keep everything together.
Keeps everything together. And as we said, it's all tied to specificity, right? You got to have a specific thing that you're trying to accomplish in a specific amount of time.
Yes.
That's fantastic. SCAMPS. Yeah. And what introduced you to this? Is this something you learned in college and school, or is this something that you learned in your own practice of day-to-day life?
You know, I went to, I paid my way through DeMath Catholic High School in Maryland.
Wow.
And at DeMath, I was taught how to set goals.
Okay. And
so as a sophomore in college in 1969, I set a goal to hitchhike from Washington, D.C. to L.A. in 5 days.
Wow.
Before the interstates were completed.
Wow. And if anyone's ever done even half of that drive, you know how long of a drive that can be.
That's
so hitchhiking adds even more time to that. So how did it go? Tell us the story.
So I knew it was attainable because Easter Sunday in 1969, I read that Greyhound would get you from D.C. to L.A. in 5 days. Thought, if Greyhound can do it, I can do it.
I can do it. Bill Humbert can do it too.
That's right.
I got it.
And I set a strategy, and part of my strategy was to create signs.
Okay.
So here is a sign for Santa Barbara that I created. Actually, this was in 1970 when I went out the second time.
The second time,
The
I see.
LA sign I gave to a girl. But anyway, so this was the Santa Barbara sign, and this is the sign that was in my college yearbook.
Awesome.
Was me standing there holding that sign.
And what a great experience, I'm sure.
Oh, it was amazing. And what I did was I did some risk analysis, figured 2 guys would be better than just me.
Okay.
So I recruited a friend, and we knew that by the end of the second day we had to be in Kansas City, and we were.
Wow.
And we got a ride from Wichita all the way to Los Angeles.
To Los Angeles, wow.
We made it in 5 days.
So like you said, you got to check off one of those small goals. You're like, we're halfway there, we're on track. So you guys got to use the SCAMPS method to make it out all the way from Washington, D.C. to L.A. in 5 days. That's amazing.
In 5 days. And
That's
the
amazing.
next summer we did it a second time, this time going to Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara.
What I did the first time was I found signboard, the bright orange signboard, so that people would see it, and then the yellow paint.
Yeah.
So we were standing on a ramp, being public, right?
Make yourself stand out.
We made ourselves stand out, and so those are two of the original signs.
So I have to ask you this though: when planning goals, life is life. Things go awry at times. Things can happen, and a lot of things can change in a matter of weeks or months. What do you do when using something like SCAMPS, when you're trying to set goals and stay on a track? If something does kind of go left or right, you take a turn that you're not expecting. How can you readjust and make sure you get right back on that track?
So in 1969, we arrived in LA 2 weeks after Sharon Tate was murdered by
Wow.
Manson's crew. And we set a goal to hitchhike to San Francisco from LA in 24 hours. We've got 3 rides from Huntington Beach up to Santa Monica. Standing on the street in Santa Monica, and this car pulls up with 4 girls in it. The 2 on the right side got out, put Jack in the center in the front, me in the center in the back. And they started talking about this ranch up in the mountains.
Uh-oh.
And where this guy would give them drugs.
Oh, wow.
And then they dropped us off at the Canyon Road. We're so focused on our goal of getting to San Francisco. Back then we wanted to stand on the corner of Haight and Ashbury.
Yeah.
And we were so excited about
focused
going
on that. You
that.
had your blinders on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they dropped us off at the Canyon Road the Spahn Ranch was on.
Wow. Okay, I talked about a twist. That's probably the biggest twist you can get in your plans. So,
Exactly.
So how did you reformulate your plans to be sure to make it to San Francisco?
So we just, we stood on that corner there for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Somebody gave us a ride all the way to San Francisco.
Wow.
So
you
yeah.
You got to be able to just adapt and kind of go with the flow, but as you said, kind of keep your eyes on the prize, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Just know what your goal is, know what your measurements are, and make sure that you're meeting your measurements.
So how can companies, how can managers, how can employers use SCAMPS in their own business and as well as with their employees to kind of help encourage productivity at work?
Well, employee engagement is such a huge topic in the world today, and the lack of it. And so what I suggest you do is you help the employees, you teach the employees how to properly set goals.
Set goals.
And if they use SCAMPS, it doesn't matter what it is that they need to do, whether it's production and getting so many pieces out in a certain amount of time. Doesn't matter if it's setting a goal to get a software product installed somewhere.
Absolutely.
You have to know how long it takes to do that and where you should be at the different points. And it's public because the people in that group know that you have to get that job done. And if it's a lot of people working, then each one of them has a set of goals that they have to meet in order for the company to meet their goals.
To meet as a whole. I see.
As a whole.
So you can kind of break this down into kind of a granular level and kind of even on an individual basis, what you can do as an individual employee to help the company achieve their overreaching goals or their goals that are over everyone there.
Over everybody.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And so when you think about employee engagement and then think about goal setting, a goal setting and achieving employee by definition is someone who's engaged in their jobs.
Absolutely. Someone who's enjoying their jobs as well.
Enjoying probably too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's, before we get going, let's talk about your book and let's talk about how people can get a hold of you as well. Before we came into this segment, we were talking in the break, you helped put, was it 5? Is that correct?
6.
Six people into new positions in the month of December alone. So obviously you're great at what you do. Let's talk about your book, where people can find it and where people can get a hold of you as well.
Well, we're in Park City, so Dolly's on Main Street has copies of my book. Weller Bookstore down in Salt Lake City has copies. There's copies really literally in small bookstores all the way across the country, and of course Amazon has
Amazon
it
as
too.
well. Always
Right.
a fantastic option is there. And are you doing any public speaking anytime soon? You giving any seminars or anything like
I've
that?
got 3 webinars scheduled for January.
Excellent.
So I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm talking to a company that may have me go to Las Vegas at the end of April.
Back to Las Vegas for you,
Back
right?
to Las Vegas.
Well, that's great. Bill, it's always a pleasure to see you. It's, thank you, as always, for all of the great tips that you give everyone. And right before we go, let's give your shout out to your website so people can check that out as well.
It's recruiterguide.com.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's Bill Humbert, the recruiter guy. Some great tips for you using the SCAMPS method for goal setting. I promise if you use that, you will accomplish everything you want to here in 2019. So as Bill said, just keep your eyes on the prize, stay focused, and use that SCAMPS method, and you will definitely be happy with the results. We'll be right back right after this break.